What's going on, people? What's up, people? This is Grammatics TV, and I'm going through my 10 best albums of 2025. 10 of some of the best, in my opinion, right? They need to fulfill a few criteria: rapping ability, skill, flow, delivery, production, the cohesiveness of the beats with the rapping, sonics in terms of how it's produced, mixed, mastered, all of that, the sort of ways things are arranged. And then obviously being able to have relatable topics and topics that, even if it's not something that you've been through, just something that you can understand, something that you're touching on different remits within, the album. So I've heard a lot of music this year. I've heard a lot of music. I've heard a lot. I've been listening throughout the year, just been writing down stuff that obviously I'm feeling. And stuff that I think from a rapper's perspective should be adhered to. And I'm going to be representing for rappers who rap. That's what I believe on this list consists of. So I want to get and give you my 10, best albums. Like I said, I'm a music guy, been listening to music for years, from childhood to adulthood, so you're going to get some albums that maybe you may not agree with, or you may agree with, or albums that I may have, make you, listen to and put you on, right? So without further ado, I'm going to give you my first album. Little Simz, Lotus. Standout tracks: Young, Free, Peace, Hollow, Lion, Blood, and Lotus. The name of the album and the track, Lotus. I picked Little Simz because she raps. She's a rapping ass, what, right? She has been in the game for a number of years and she just knows how to rap. As simple as that. On this album, though, is a new production team from what I gather. This new one understand exactly how she should put herself out there in terms of her subjects, lyrics, and the beats meshing together. The album takes chances. The album shows somebody that looks like they're content, comfortable where they are in life. It shows someone that has gone through things and has managed to withstand all of the, moments that life has brought her, whether it's professionally or personally. That's the vibe I get from the album. Like, she's literally just showing her learning from every experience that she's had. I made mention of certain songs. So, for example, Young, Free, Peace, Hollow, Lion, Blood. I'm going to pick a song, for example, called Young. If you're British, you can relate to that song based on just the fact that the way it sounds. It sounds like, to me, something that a group called Madness could have done years ago, right? It's a British group. They made a certain type of sound where, had a lot of alternative sort of, rock and pop sound meshed together, right? A bit of ska even. You listen to that album, you listen to that song. That's one of the songs where she's literally, poking sort of fun at, the whole ideology of her being a certain age group and just being able to, understand the different sort of ways that, one will portray being a certain age. I think another song on there, Free, come across like she's saying, look, I'm free now. Free from the past, free from any issues, free from the people, the business dealings, personally, professionally, that didn't go well. And now she's content. Peace is another track. Is another big track for me. Production on it. Flows, again, from a place of speaking of peace, speaking of, what she's at peace with in life based on what she's gone through. And for me, production on this is top notch. But the feel of the album, there's moments even on the album that I think show a little bit of moments like you won't even probably understand what I'm trying to say, but musically there's like Marvin Gaye like production on here. I'm telling you, if you're really into listening properly, there's moments where some of the beats on there and some of the production, the instrumentation, the strings, the bass, The way it meshes together, there's moments where it's like it's inspired by in certain moments. That's the vibe I get. If you really want to do your Googles, listen to the album. Trust me, I'm not saying nothing crazy, but when you hear it, it has that kind of level production wise. I think the production on this is top. She had a track called Lion as well. It's got like a Fela Kuti influence, Afro, Afro beat vibe. Top song. Blood is a smart song as well. That's with a rapper called Wretch 32 and another artist as well from the UK called Cash. That's a smart song based on the fact that it's referencing relationships when it comes to sibling relationships and the whole difference that each sibling, saw in their version of events when they grew up. So every sibling has, their version of events of how life looks for them, depending on, obviously, particularly if your age groups are all different. And then obviously Lotus production was a standout on that track. And just the whole way this album has done. It's a smart album. It's an album that shows rapping. It shows different attempts from different sort of genres mixed together. It is rapping. It does have sounds where, like I say, you will think it's like a soulful /rap /pop mix, but it's rapping. And that's the thing I still have to choose it for. Number 9. Top album. Had moments where I questioned, but as I was listening to it, I was like, he was evoking moments of the days when I grew up on him. And this album is Ghostface Killah Supreme Clientele 2. For me, production on this, good production. I'll call it that. Rapping is still there from Ghost. The ability is still there. Nothing is really falling off when it comes to that aspect. The rapping is still there. Some of the standout tracks for me are Curtis May. Now, break beats, beatbox, rap kingpin, Love Me Anymore featuring Nas, and You My Friend featuring Method Man. For me, Ghost is spitting on there. He's spitting on this album. Ghost is one of those rappers where the style is most important. The delivery is most important. Once you hear Ghost, you know immediately what it is. And I think on this album, he managed to maintain that. The style is there. Even like, the way he raps and the way he says his words, it's still there. That energy is still there. There's moments where vocally, I think they could have done better with the way they mixed one or two of the vocals on some songs. But apart from that, production is there. Rap kingpin for me. He's talking that typical lyrical Ghost, styling on you. For me, I think, it's a good album based on just if you're a rap guy or a rap girl and you want to hear someone talking about different subjects. Even You My Friend was, showing that kind of loyalty to a friend. Obviously, if you've grown up around certain people, you have certain connections. And smart song, Method Man delivered his verse on that. Love Me Anymore featuring Nas. Good beat, smart sample as well. Good sample, soulful. Breakbeat. It has like an old school paying homage kind of vibe to it. It's paying homage to the old school, has like an old school kind of typical hip hop kind of, bounce to the beat. Beatbox is an old school homage as well. It's like a beat, literally just beatboxing. That's how the whole beat sounds, right? And then obviously he's doing his thing on there. And yeah, for me, the features on there, Nas, Styles P, Conway, Curtis May, the track with Styles P and Conway, just flows, bars, it's everything, just rapping, talking about their different points of view and being lyrical with it, being skillful with it, And then there's another thing on there as well, another track on that album. Well, it's not a track, it's like a skit. It's called Poor Skit. And I think that skit was funny. And I think it's smart because it's like the overusage of the word pause. It's like you can't even say nothing. And it's like the whole questioning of, but why are you even thinking of that? If I say something and then your mind is going elsewhere, it's like, why are you thinking like that way? Like, what's your thoughts? You know, why are you thinking like that? And that's the whole pause skit that was on that album. It was a smart one, very smart and relatable based on where we are in society today with all this pause stuff. But overall, top album, and yeah, that gets on the list as well. Another good album I would put in as De La Soul, Cabin in the Sky. Standout tracks for me. And also, I want to commend this producer called Super Dave West. He done well on this album. Done well. Cohesive. Had musical moments on there. A lot of elements, a lot of references and things that you can see that, you know, he has a wide influence from his musical taste. But yeah, that album, De La Soul, Cabin in the Sky. And the intro, Sunny Storms, Day in the Sun, Palm of His Hands, and Enough. Those are tracks that stand out for me. Now, I would say the intro is a smart one. It's announcing the contributors of the album. So literally they're acting like they're in a class, and the register, right? Where, you know, if you've ever been a student in school, they're calling out names of all the features on the album, all the features, and then everyone's saying yes, or, you know, if they're there or not. And then obviously, you know, it showed a smart way of intro on the album. It showed a sort of togetherness of what this project is going to be about. And for me, the album did well based on the production, based on just the whole feel of it. I think we know what to expect from De La Soul. If you're knowledgeable of De La Soul, you're going to have rhythm, you're going to have groove, you're going to have teachable moments, you're going to have good flows, you know, just cohesiveness. You're going to have an album or music that has that. And I think on this one, they did that. It didn't feel like anything was missing. Although obviously, you know, the passing of, you know, one of the main members, and it didn't feel like it was an issue when you hear the album, everything just still flowed well. Production on there was good. Primo's on there, DJ Premier, and he done his job as well. And just the album in general, cohesive, different perspectives. They seem more at peace or dealing with, you know, the loss of one of their main band members or group members, and a lot of references from a belief standpoint, and them even looking at their own potential or, you know, demise when it comes, but just being content that regardless of what takes place, there's like a place for them in the sky, cabin in the sky. And it's a smart way of writing, and it's a smart way of just being able to deal with things and show that, look, we're dealing with it. It's not the easiest, but we're still gonna, you know, maintain and have celebration as well. And I think that album is smart. Another album that has to go on there, Shay Noir and Love the Genius, Desired Crowns. Independent, underground artists, but do your Googles on them. Some of the top tracks on this album: Not Me, Sum of Two Evils, Amina, Conquer. There's more, but in those tracks, they spit. Again, this is all about people who spit, people who can talk about different things, have beats that move, grooves, you know, and they did it. Now, Not Me is like back-to-back rapping, the track. It's literally, you're going back to back. She is two women, by the way, if people are not too familiar. One raps, another raps, like back to back, you know, and each bar, they don't waste bars. Each bar they spit, just styling on you, you know. That's a top track. If you hear it, the beat is hard as well. Just rapping. If you know what I mean, and you know when someone says they just rapping, you should know what I mean. They spit, and I think that's something that needs to be highlighted again. It's important that if you're talking about rap, you have to be rapping first and foremost. Sum of Two Evils. Again, back-to-back bars. The beat, spitting, point of view, and knowing how to paint pictures and take reference points of life and take reference points and expand on them. Smart. Album on there. The track on that album, smart. And another one, Amina. To me, this one's like an upbringing. So it talks about the effects of their upbringing, the guidance they didn't get, issues that, you know, they've had to learn from, issues that they've had to overcome, and basically just be able to maintain regardless of some of the things they didn't learn when they were younger. You know, they've showed how, you know, they've had to deal with things. And for me, they just put it in perspective clearly on the track. They show that, look, if certain things were guided to me, I probably wouldn't have made certain decisions. You know, if I had certain, for example, they mentioned male influences, they wouldn't have made maybe certain decisions that affected them, right? And then there's another last track that I mentioned called Conquer. It sounds like, if you hear the track, it sounds like, even to me, when I heard it, I thought DMX, for example, could have featured on this. The way the beat sounds, the flows of them, again, back to back, rapping, and just the feel of the beat, the mood of it. And it just, again, shows that kind of empowerment of, you know, conquering. And yeah, man, for me, it's on the list as well. So that's Shay Noir, Love the Genius, Desired Crowns. Another one we have on the list, Saba and No ID, from the private collection of Saba and No ID. The features on that album were top draw. Cohesiveness, flow, and the features didn't overpower him. He has some good names on here as well. You have people like Raphael Sadiq on here, you know, and yeah, for me, album was good. Good album, strong, soulful samples from No ID, which you're going to get from him. The rapping from Saba was smart. Different subject matters. Try different things, you know, try to be expansive in his writing. Showed it as well, showed skill. And yeah, man, the connection between the two worked. It worked. No ID, Saba, it worked. Some of the standouts. Crash. West Side Bound, Stomping, How to Impress God, top joint. God's Will, and yeah, A Few Songs, that's another one. Now, How to Impress God was a smart track, just based on the fact that he questions how he perceives how God is seeing things with what he does, what God's view of success is, and his view, you know, Saba's view, and just the difference between what he perceives God is looking at things like from the world and what he looks at things like. So he's basically saying God is not impressed with some of the things that we as man think are impressive. So it's just a kind of, not a conflict, but kind of more or less kind of like him trying to make it clear that it's not that important what man looks at, but it's important what God looks at, and him trying to do the will of God as opposed to just, you know, chasing, you know, what's out there based on what man thinks is success. And literally he's depicting a whole batch of stuff in there where he's just literally just talking about all the things that are perceived successful by man, and then his sort of ability to know what's more important, which is his faith. Another song, like I say, for me, Stomping, talking about obviously being able to, you know, stomp out all the negative, the beat on there, the flow on there. West Side Bound, production, strong. Crash, featuring Raphael Sadiq. The beat is smooth. And again, point of view, speaking from different perspectives on that album, speaking from different perspectives on each track. And yeah, for me, cohesive, soulful album. up-tempo, mid-tempo beats, soulful samples, No ID, Saba, good connection. Another album on here that I've put, D-Smoke, Wake Up Super. 14 songs on this one. Wake Up Super. This one is kind of like reflecting on the life that he's managed to garner, his experiences, his childhood experiences, and just being able to talk about different things and how he's managed to learn, you know, the mentality also that he has from his upbringing. And just, yeah, the energy that he's coming with is, I'm here, you know, I'm trying to assert myself as one of the main rappers that really do this. Good connection with the production on there. And yeah, he's rapping. 14 songs on this album. Some of the standouts: Wake Up Super, Nah Nah Nah, Groove in the Beat on that track. But yeah, No Passes, Chin Up, Fire, Biscuit, and Triumph. Another cohesive album. Production on there has, I think, put him in a light where he can show different flows easier. I think the production makes him be able to, you know, tap into different remits. He has soulful moments on there, trap type soulful moments, West Coast bounces on there. Yeah, man, I think for me, he's spitting. 14 songs, as I said. Wake Up Super, for example, reflecting on the nature of where he's from and the thought processes behind, you know, what makes him the person he is. So just paying homage to where, you know, he was born, and just showing you how he's had to maneuver, how he's had to, you know, come out of some of the experiences that he's had, and obviously managed to do what he's doing, you know, as time has gone on within his career. No Passes. The mode that he's coming in with is more of, he's giving no passes to people. He's showing his competitive side on there. He's showing that, look, I'm here, you're taking it or not, sort of thing. You know, I'm giving no passes to people that, you know, tried some things that weren't, you know, the right things. You know, I'm just here focusing on what I'm doing. And yeah, I'm giving out no passes. I'm here to take people's heads off when it comes to this rap. Fire is literally fire. The mood, the bars, the way he carried this song. For me, he held the hook well as well. It was a melodic sort of hook. A song where he's like trying to describe the difference on how things can be when you're black in America, and the different ways black people are looked at in America in comparison to other, you know. So it kind of had that kind of depiction of different moments and stories, and his analysis on the differences between, you know, the perception of blacks whenever they do things, and obviously whenever, you know, other, you know, races or backgrounds do things as well. So it was a smart song. And then another song called Biscuit with Snoop. Groovy beat, energized beat, a beat that has like an 80s R&B element to it. To me, the synths, the singer on there was a smart addition as well. Singer did their thing as well. I think the singer, I think, is OGI on there. I think the name is spelled OGI. Very good singer. It's like a similar to like the West Coast grooves of yesteryear, of back in the day. And obviously Triumph, smart, emotional, if you want to call it, song documenting his mum's illness that she had, and how the family were dealing with it. It's an album where he's giving you different looks, talking about vulnerability, talking about strength, talking about yeah, just him asserting himself as also, you know, the guy that is saying, look, I'm here. Another album on here has to be Don Trip and Starlito, Step Brothers for Life. Rapping. Some of the standouts on here: Madden Curse, 49th Song, Michelangelo and Bugs, Origins, And then there's more, but those are some of the standouts just for the production and rapping ability. Don Trip and Starlito from the south of America, and they are spitting. These are rappers that traditionally, if they came from East Coast or even a bit of West Coast, but mainly East Coast, people will be talking about them just a little bit more, especially if they came out in a certain era. And I think Don Trip and Starlita are some underrated rappers. They're spitting on this. Spitting. Step Brothers for life. They are spitting. Madden. Curse. Don Trip had a lyric. Craig setting up college funds for his future kids feel like Russell Wilson. You see, just having the ability to make you think and make you go, oh. You know, like when I hear rap, I want to go, ooh, oh yeah, ooh. Like, you know, I want to dance as well. I want to listen, but I also want to be like, ooh. Like those are the days that you grew up on, especially if you're from the 90s era, mid 90s, 2000. People made you go, ooh. That's what these guys were doing on this album. Back-to-back bars. 49th song, Trap Beat. That's one of the songs on the album. It's got like a mid-tempo. It just speaks about never stopping, even when they've had obstacles in their life. Basically, their, you know, life experiences from the hood. Michelangelo and Bugs, again, trap beat vibe, but soulful. It's two perspectives of them showing a person, for example, or persons, one with the legit route or one with the street route. So it's just talking about how both people will make decisions based on wanting to get it in life. And that was a smart track. And then Origins, to me, has like a soulful trap vibe. Speaks on how they started and the mentality between the two of how they linked up, how they started, and then obviously, you know, the journey they took to get to that point that they are in today. And yeah, man, for me, rapping, lyrics, flows, tone, believability. And yeah, you could tell that these guys are from a certain era in terms of their age and also when they came out, because you can hear that these guys are keeping things where they're keeping that rapping simile and metaphors and humor and just bringing all these things that encapsulate a rapper. Another album on the list at number 3, Chance the Rapper with Starline. For me, he went in on this album. He did well on it, lyrically, subject matter wise, flow wise, beats wise. Some of the standouts on the track are No More Old Men, The Negro Problem, Gun in Your Purse, Link Me in the Future, Pretty. No More Old Men, for example. He's literally talking about being the new adults. So you're seeing from his perspective, watching, you know, people like his parents growing up, becoming older. Now you're getting to that point where you're older now and you're seeing the changes with what you see your parents like, as well as obviously with you becoming older as well. So it was a good dynamic in there. Smart lyrics, good flow, good beat. Gun in Your Purse, that's a bouncy track. That's for the clubs. Bouncy track. I like some of them type of, you know what I mean? I know it's not the best connotation, but it's just the vibe of the track. It's bouncy. You know, good beat on that one. Pretty, literally about self-love, you know, speaking, you know, highly of yourself from a confident standpoint, you know, speaking well of yourself, obviously being able to understand what you are as a person and what you've been created, you know, like. The Negro Problem, literally, that's another song that he's literally speaking about the neglect for blacks. You know, sometimes you see the issues that black people can face within the healthcare system, sometimes not being taken seriously, sometimes misdiagnosed. And that's not to say other people aren't misdiagnosed, but there's a substantial difference when it comes to, for example, just speaking about women who are having issues within, you know, those environments, not having the right sort of diagnosis. Just literally touching on different subjects. He can hit you from a deeper standpoint. He can hit you from like a club standpoint, which he's done before. But like I said earlier, I think he's doing it from a more mature standpoint. And yes, Chance's album, it's a strong album, musically soulful, has gospel-like moments in there, Has club moments in there where, like I said, it's got that bouncy vibes. And yeah, man, it's a strong album. So that's another one on the list. Another album on here. Nas, Light Years. 15 songs. Primo fully produced the album. And these are some of the standouts for me. Get Ready. Welcome to the Underground. Madman. Pause Tapes. Writers. Sons. Nasty Esco Nasia. My Story. Your Story. Featuring AZ and Junkie. Production on the album is good. The only track that I thought I had a question on was New York State of Mind, the part 3. Production. The eerie kind of vibe, that's the main one that I thought, okay, I'm not really understanding the reason for this lane. But other than that, the album lyrically from top to bottom is on point, as you will normally get from Nas. And the production from top to bottom is on point. Get Ready, typical Nas. One of the tracks. Get Ready, typical Nas rap, typical Primo beat. Spitting, again. This list that I've got is all about spitters. People that are rapping, but are speaking expansively. Welcome to the Underground. That for me is a different beat for Primo. Nas is like reflecting, about, experiences, storytelling of what life's been like. It's a different Primo production that makes him stand out in a different way. It's not the typical, as people like to describe him as, boom bap. This one's a little bit more different, and you listen to it. If you hear it, you hear, okay, that's a little bit different for Primo, which is a smart thing as well. Madman, typical Preem, up tempo, groovy bass loop. Nas again talking as Nas does, speaks on different moments in life and can put them in ways where it's introspective, and also he's just showing lyrical skill. Pause Tapes, boom bap. It's like even has that old school static on the track. You know that? Even that alone, when I heard that, I was like, yeah, this is it. This is rap. This is hip hop. They had some old school static that Primo put on there. And Nas, that's obviously he's reflecting on his early days, creating and navigating, growing up in Queens, and and the challenges that he faced growing up there. That one's called Pause Tapes. Boom bap, like I said, but it's a groove. It's not just boom bap with just drums. It's got a groove. Primo has moments where he likes his groove, with the bass and the way he where he places his bass for the groove. Writers, that's another track as well that Primo killed. That's paying homage to writers, paying homage to people that have that skill level. He's just literally shouting out some of his top writers. Sons, smart track as well. Shouting out all the parents with sons, basically. Giving a sort of kudos to the parents who have sons, and obviously the sort of ways that sons can improve their existence and improve their life, and the sort of connection that you can gain with one. If you're familiar, Nas had a track called Daughters, so this is like a version for the sons, and it's a smart track as well. He's describing moments with him and just how him and his son and his relationship, how it changed his life. Nasty Esco Nas Sia, wordplay. Whole album is top for wordplay, but Nasty Esco Nasia, wordplay. It describes literally moments from him being Nasty Nas, Esco. When Nas Esco was like that in the mid-90s, and then obviously Nasia as in his actual name, his birth name, and just showing you the different sort of, you can call it characters that emanated from those entities, and being able to talk about the moments when he felt like he was Nasty Nas, Esco, and Nasia, and the differences. The storytelling on that was smart. Wordplay. It's like basically alter egos, right? So he's basically speaking from each perspective, and then it seems the Nasia version of him, which is him, will be the thing that prevails and the thing that he's more comfortable in as time goes on. And obviously, I'm sure with him living and experiencing a lot. So that was a smart track, being able to talk about each version or each alter ego of himself. And yeah, he just basically is talking about all the moments where he did things first, even as a rapper. He said, you taught that Cristal first. He mentioned that, like, all you people that were talking about certain things, I did that, or I dressed like that, or I looked like that, or I thought like that. I said this earlier, you know what I mean? So he was just literally talking about all the moments where he was doing things and he was revered for it. And obviously how he's managed to become Nasir, and then the changes he's had, since that. And then Junkie, if you're a hip hop guy or a hip hop girl, he's literally talking about, he feels like that connection and that kind of addiction for rap, where he's just like a junkie for it. It's like a drug, basically. It's like a mid-tempo beat, strings, like pads in there, melody, a groove again, mid-tempo, but he's just literally talking about, his love for hip hop. As we get to the end, another track is on there. Well, another album is on there. And this one, the rollout was brilliant. The rapping is still at the level it needs to be. The care for each bar is there. Has to be. Clips, let God sort them out. Top to bottom, the album was on point. The Birds Don't Sing, POV, So Be It, All Things Considered, Fico, let God sort them out. Standouts for me. There's others, but those are some. The Birds Don't Sing, talking about obviously their parents and the passing of them, and obviously the time frame between each parent passing and how they dealt with it, how the brothers Malice and Push dealt with it. And it's different for them production wise, and I think that was a smart choice as well. They spoke about their vulnerabilities and just how even strategic the mum was, even on the run up to her passing, and how things will be passed over to them, and what they were saying to Malice and Pusha. And yeah, man, it was a touching moment on the album. It was vulnerability, but it was also strength. It was also dealing with loss, and how they managed to maintain. And I think that was a smart track as well. Strong production, John Legend on the hook, and yeah, that was a good opening to get that straight away. The whole album is, again, clips talking that stuff that they do. Malice, for me, when you see, I've had that album, Lord Willing, back then. When they came out, Lord Willing was in the collection back then in 02. That's when I had that album in the crib. He's always been the guy for me when it comes to Malice and Push. Malice and Push can rap. Push can rap, we know this. But for me, Malice always said things in ways, and he spoke on different subjects in ways that you didn't really hear from a rapper. You could see some of the faith aspects even back then. And just the way he would put words together, he doesn't waste bars. Malice on this album, again, showed you that he's one of the best rappers that have come into rap. Yes, Malice. Pusha, we know what Pusha does. We know he's certified. But Malice showed you that he's one of the best rappers that have come into the rap game. And he did it on this album. So to Push. POV is featuring Tyler, the Creator. That's hip hop. When you hear the beat, that's hip hop. Lyrics, talking there, ish on there. Malice lyrically standing out, in my opinion. Tyler did well. Tyler, the Creator, did well. He was kind of like having that kind of clips flow on there, paying homage. They were all talking about their different point of views. And yeah, Malice and Push were making people look like peons with the way he was rapping. Like, in terms of just that kind of, you guys in the game ain't, you know what I mean? You ain't nothing. And I felt that was smart. Just, again, competitive rap. Competitive rap. So Be It, sample, silly. The sample is silly. It's like a sample. I think I've heard this a sample from some Saudi Arabian track from the 70s. So be it that, like, it's silly. So be it. Like the kicks. Some of them were just hitting in that kind of way of like the early 2000s, and that was a top track as well. So be it. Again, talking their ish. Everything about this album, or everything I'm talking about in these lists, is people talking their ish. Go and listen to the albums if you ain't, and hear what I'm saying. Every track, depending on the subject, they're talking. You know, it's not quick lyrics, quick fix. None of this is quick fix. This is all rap, all about keeping the levels and the standards up. All things considered, another beat, hard beat, lyrically adept on there. Again, talking about different aspects of life, and being able to be metaphoric. And yeah, just for me, just showing what clips are. They've still kept that standard up. Fecal, trap influence on the beat. Old school groove to me. Stove God done his thing on this, by the way, when it comes to the hook. Did his thing. I think them three should probably even make more songs. Just based on the hook that Stove God did, he stood out on that, just from the hook. Fecal, yeah, brilliant song. Smart, old school groove to me. It's got that old school. It even sounds like something that even you can get from like the 80s R&B vibe to it. Like the clap, the way it hits, and the groove of it. And obviously Let God Sort Them Out. Hip hop down to a T. Synths on there. The beat switch for when Nas comes in to that track. Beat switch for Chandeliers. The strings on that, silly strings that you're like, it looked like it was just suited for Nas to be on there. It sounded like the days of Nas's album I Am. It came across like that beat could have been on I Am, and it's like that. It's like Pharrell purposely said, okay, I'm going to produce a beat specifically for you, Nas, of what you could have had. And I think the whole album was smart in terms of features. Clips stood out as usual. Rapping, this is on there strictly because of the rapping and beats. If you're spitting, you're on here. If you've got beats with different vibes and grooves, you're on here. And if you've got different flows, you're on here, and different lyrics that give you different sort of life experiences and different point of views, you're on here. So for me, these are some of the best 10 albums from rap that came out this year. Like the video if you watched thus far, and let me know what you think about this list.